Letting the world around you fade away and putting your awareness just inside yourself. Another deep breath or two, letting the body get quiet. And we're going to start by grounding, making an energy connection in the very base of your spine, all the way down to the very center of the earth. And allowing those 2 points to be connected by a giant redwood tree, a monkey tail, anchor and chain, whatever your picture is, your concept. Energy isn't fussy. And as you allow those 2 energy points to connect, it lets you as a spirit come into that body and to find the calm within the storm. So the world kind of fades away and your attention comes inward towards yourself. And this is the greatest place you can heal yourself, is inward. So as you go inward, you find that quiet sanctuary. And you can just start by taking a deep breath and letting go of any worries, any cares, anything that keeps you from feeling at ease. Just let it go down that grounding cord. And as we work tonight, you'll find it gets easier and easier to communicate with your body, to connect with it and help it. So being aware of, when we look at wellness, it's not about something to fix or even a problem space. It's a whole energy level of wellness. And wellness starts with good body, spirit communication. And so just getting curious when you're inside yourself, just kind of asking, what gets in the way of my spirit talking to my body? What gets in that communication space where I can't hear what the body's trying to tell me, if anything? To me, feeling unwell is just a need to be aware that there's an energy in your space that may not be yours. And so take a deep breath, and anything you find that isn't yours, that creates distress, just simply let that energy go down your grounding cord, drain it out. The body is a tremendous database for you emotionally and physically, mentally. So as you ground and you let go of everything that gets in the way of your spirit communicating with your body, then you start to create a new space of awareness. When we find ourselves with an illness, sometimes there's a space of where we go in resistance. And that can happen when we start to think that there's only one way of doing something. And sometimes what's worse than actual suffering are the reasons why it isn't okay. Like all the energy it brings up. So if you sprain your ankle, it's like all of the resistance to not being able to walk, to being in pain, all of the levels of resistance we have when the body isn't responding the way we want it to. So it's kind of interesting when you think about it, like if you cut your finger or you burn your finger, you don't cut your finger off, but you nurture it, you heal it. So it's like you're being tender or gentle with that part of yourself. And that's the same when you look at wellness. One of my favorite wellness guides, if you will, is Stephen Levine. He wrote a brilliant book called Healing into Life and Death. And he worked with terminal cancer patients. And he really did an amazing job. And they either healed back into life or they healed into peace and they died. And either way, they won. But he really helped them process what was the energy underneath that. So in many ways, this is the part of us that responds to this level of wellness energy. Any place that we're not happy or we're out of balance starts to get righted and come together. And again, some of the people that he worked with, they were all terminal, and he did meditations with them. He worked with them about what they were resisting in their life. And a lot of them healed back into life and a lot of them healed into death, but they died happy. They died in peace. And both ways are great choices. It's really kind of your perception along the way that helps you start to heal. And one of the things that happens is when you start to have this level of flexibility in life, then you have more space to be able to go with the flow of life. And it keeps you from getting stuck. So lots of times if you plan something and you want it to go perfectly and it doesn't, then you start to get this resistance in the body where we want to hyper control it or manage it. And many times that's the root of some of the unease in the body. So take a deep breath and just notice any place right now that you're holding on to an expectation. If I don't get to do this, I won't be happy. Or I'll only be happy if I'm teaching. I'll only be happy if I'm in a relationship. I'll only be happy if whatever it is for you. And just see what you come up with. What is that place that you resist? What is the thing you think has to happen before you can have a certain level of awareness? And just for a minute, we're experimenting, make friends with it. If you never got that, could you still have a good life? If for whatever reason, the thing you're looking at no longer existed, would you still be happy with the other things you have around you? And if the answer is no, then you have a choice to make. Is there something else you could trade that in for? What is the energy that says it has to be this way or nothing? And usually there's a lot of serious energy there. Sometimes we get programmed. If I don't achieve this, I won't be worth it. Or sometimes people have tremendous expectations. Look at the athletes. And if you're watching the Olympics and somebody makes a mistake, you just want to die for them. It's just like, oh my God, they've trained their whole life and blew it in 2 minutes. And I always feel so bad for them because it's such a fierce competition. And it doesn't matter if you take first place, it's that you excel. And so we can be so tough on ourselves. And you can kind of look at some of the hardest things we face in life are the result of loving something so much. So the gymnast that decided to quit the Olympics, Simone, can't think of her last name, was a great example. Hey, I'm going to take care of myself instead of always having to be number one. What a great example she was of being okay, not having to be perfect. And so Simone Biles, thank you. And so for all of us, is there a space that we can let go of and maybe cut ourselves some slack? Can you be okay with a B? Do you always have to have an A? So it gets to be interesting in how we respond to life. Now, I admit my older sister, my older brother were perfect A students all the way through. And I came along and I didn't care. I could be a BC student. I was going to have fun. And I learned a lot. I wouldn't trade it for anything. But I think there's a balance in there where you can really have all parts of it. And so just looking at your list of I can only be happy if, and it's a great exercise to actually make a list, write it down. And once you have a couple of them, be amused and then rip it up, tear it up, throw it in the garbage can and give yourself permission. Kind of learning how to have both sides of an issue. Coming to a neutral place helps release that I have to fix something or it's a problem mentality. So that this body doesn't get stuck with a lot of judgment energy or punishment energy if it doesn't respond perfectly. And it's a really interesting relationship that we have with our bodies. I've worked with a lot of cancer patients and bringing the chemo in affinity with their body, being able to run their favorite color through that liquid and make friends with it instead of resisting it. And just saying to the chemo, okay, I need you for a certain part of my body. And then whatever I don't need, just let me urinate out the rest. So that they can bring that awareness to the body. I'm not punishing you, I'm helping you. And it makes a tremendous difference how they respond. So if you're in total resistance to a medicine, then the body's going to feel that. Where if you can bring it in harmony, then you can use it as a tool with the body. So it isn't about making the body a certain way. It's finding the harmony in everything around you. From a neutral space, it's easier to look at an illness or a problem and and begin to see, hey, what am I learning from this? What is this about? What is it here to teach me? And that's a whole different energy than the body being in resistance. I had one a couple months ago. I went in for stem cell. I thought I'd tore the meniscus in my knee. And I had an old injury in that knee from when I was like 25 or 30. And I found out it was, arthritis, bone on bone. I don't have arthritis any other place in my body. But all of a sudden, instead of getting stem cell, I had to get a new knee. I'm like, didn't see this one coming. So it's like, how do you make friends with that? How do you make it okay? And it's like, oh, the body needs something different than what I thought. And so I have to release that concept that it's going to be an easy fix with an injection and walk away. Didn't happen. So it's like, okay, plan B. Hadn't counted on plan B, but here we are. We're dancing. So it's interesting. Can it be okay? Can you make it all right? And how do you work with the body to then be able to take that next step with it? What are you learning? What is it that you as a spirit picked in this lesson with this body in order to evolve your awareness? How is it alerting you to a spiritual change? Here's another great one. Look at, some of us are getting older. Look at some of the things you can't do anymore. And how do you feel about that? How do you make friends with it? Like, I love to take baths. I can't get in a bathtub. I could get in, I couldn't get out. So, of course, I have a huge soaking tub because I love baths. Well, they're a lot higher, so I got to really work that knee so I can get it in just to shower. So I can't take baths anymore. Gave away all my shower or bath stuff. Out of the picture for me. So am I going to die because I can't take a bath? No. So it's really looking at, okay, what can I learn from this lesson? What is my takeaway? And how do I bring it in affinity with myself? I can sit in resistance for the next 20 years. I could. I could be mad every time I have to take a shower instead of a bath. But where does it really get you? What is the payoff for staying mad at something that you can't change? So it's interesting to start to look at wellness from a different perspective. What would happen if you knew you were going to die in a week? You couldn't, just say you couldn't change it. How would you make friends with that? How can you use that awareness to help yourself come to terms with it, to find more of your spiritual awareness, to get ready? What if you knew you had to be in a wheelchair for the next 20 years? Or you got MS? There's all these different realities that happen with a body. And how do we handle them? What do they teach us? It isn't just by coincidence. So, what are you as an immortal spirit trying to learn by being in this situation with your body? And how can you bring that level of wellness or harmony to yourself in the moment? And some days it's a challenge. Other days it can be really clear. And everybody gets something. Everybody. Whether it's cancer, it's MS, it's whatever it is, so many ailments. So the body does wear down after a while. Can you allow it that space? Can you make peace with it? It's just like that burnt finger. You're not going to cut it off. You're going to be tender with it. So you're holding it in a place of love. This is one of the things Stephen Levine did with the cancer patients is he had them, instead of resisting or trying to push away the illness or the cancer, he had them surround it with love to open into tenderness and run that gentle energy through that part of the body, bringing it into affinity. And I'm sure the first couple of times they did it, maybe there was some energy in that body. I love to, when I'm working with a part of the body, I like to put graph paper around it. Remember from grade school? The little tiny squares. And so say it's a liver. I would put graph paper around that liver and look at the colors. Where are the dark parts in that liver? Where are the light parts? And just if you can visualize in your mind, you could take a pencil eraser and erasing out the darkness and putting your light colors back in brings more vitality to that organ, allowing it to heal itself. So there's a lot we know about healing the body. Sometimes we need allopathic medicine. Sometimes we need holistic medicine. Both ways work. You have to ask the body what it needs. Just like you ask the body all the time, what kind of foods would nurture it? And all of us have a level of awareness where we're very aware of what foods feel good to our body and which ones don't. And when we eat the ones that don't, we're always like, oh, why did I do that? And you get to the point where you just don't eat it anymore. It isn't worth it. Mentally, we might want it, but once we have it, it's like, I know I'm allergic to sugar. So I can have very little sugar and it just doesn't work in my body. I'm more of a protein baby. So everybody does it different. There's no wrong or right, but it's bringing harmony to your own body and seeing what it needs. And this is how you create wellness. The spiritual part of you brings that information to the body and they work in tandem together. So anything that comes up, that body is going to change over time. And you're going to face different situations with your body. Hey, that body isn't going to be perfect. It isn't. And one day we're all going to die. We'll all take that journey. We can all do it differently. There's no right or wrong way. But I think when you can find that peace inside, when you can promote that wellness of your spirit and your body working together, then whatever step you take, it's so much easier. You have this inner peace. One of my favorite things about working in hospice was helping someone find that inner peace, because it's a beautiful thing. So right now, you're not dying, you're just learning. So bring whatever area you're working on in your body, bring it into peace. Maybe you have a headache, or maybe you have have a swollen ankle, whatever. Everybody's got something. Maybe your digestion's off. Just bringing that level of peace and harmony to that body. It might be a color, a favorite color. And just look at any concerns you have with your body. So maybe if you have something with yourself physically, you might look at those concerns about living. And then at the same time, look and see if you were dying, what concerns would you have? Is there a difference? More than likely. So really just getting curious, getting inside yourself. And as you do that, you'll start to attract the energy you need, the people, the awareness that you need to help with that situation, whatever it is. If you needed surgery, you'd attract people who could help you. If you needed physical therapy, you'd attract the right person to help you. If you were dying, you'd attract the right group to help you die. So whatever it is that you're working on in the physical body, when you start to create this vibration of wellness, it attracts to you on a spiritual level what will help with that physical body. And just notice yourself. Notice any polarity. Like in the world right now, there's a great polarity, the vaccinated people, the unvaccinated people. And it's so easy to make a judgment. You should do this. Interesting. I'm not saying one's right or one's wrong, but they're two very opposite camps. Can you have a neutral stance? We can't know the reasons why people want to be vaccinated or not want to be vaccinated. That's a very personal thing. Can you allow yourself to just be neutral? For most of it, there's nothing most of us can do to control it anyway. So stepping out of that judgment game and just allowing, there are two sides. Take a deep breath and just ground out any judgment energy. When you find yourself in a place where you resist one side or the other, you end up getting stuck with it. So if you can find that neutrality, then it's like people that need to be vaccinated, you give them permission to get vaccinated. Those that can't get vaccinated, you give them permission not to be vaccinated. But it takes you out of judgment. That's one of the huge energies on the planet right now is the polarization, the judgment. And it's in everything. What we're finding is a dichotomy doesn't really work. There's a third space, and that's neutrality. Allowing each spirit to make the choice that's right for them. You might look at what standards of medical energy do you communicate to your body? You'll only be well if you do A, B, or C. It's kind of like, here's another one I think is hysterical, is what's better for you, butter or margarine? What's healthier, chicken or beef? And where our society gets polarized, meat or vegetables. They're all good for you in the right way. So it's allowing what is right for you, but not having to judge someone who doesn't do it the same way you do. So take a deep breath And this is a big part of wellness, is just releasing all those judgments. Making friends with where you are. So when your body says, hey, I don't really want sugar, and everybody around you is eating it, it's okay. You don't get pulled in. You know what's right for you. If everybody else is eating meat and you don't like meat, hey, don't eat the meat. It's not rocket science, but it's really listening to what your body's saying, but not judging everybody else for them doing something different. And it's so funny, but we're such a judgmental little group. We just are. The first thing when that sperm and egg come together and create that little tiny embryo, one of the first things that's created is the analyzer. And it tells the body, this cell will be the liver, this cell will be this. And so it's necessary for creating a body. But then once we have the body, it just keeps on going. And it's just like you can be at the grocery store looking at the groceries in front of you. Now, what are they buying? And who cares? Or, somebody's walking down the street and you decide you don't like that color on them. Who cares? It's so funny, the little things we judge. So again, if you can just find a little amusement, it becomes more like a game. Like, oh, that was a good judgment picture. Boy, I did a good one there. And you can just release that concept. So giving yourself a little permission to have fun with this body, to really enjoy being with it, this dance. Another thing that Stephen Levine did with the people that had cancer was he got them to really look at and pinpoint where is the pain in the body. And usually it'll pinpoint an exact spot in the body. And so it tells you where you need to send the love, where you can send that radiant energy, that love, that life force to that spot. And it lets you practice. It's like, hey, little body, hello. I hear you, ankle. You are really swollen. Darn. Sending that love, that tenderness helps it heal a little quicker. Like, what else can I do for you? I could prop my foot up. I could use an ice pack, whatever it is that the body needs. And being there for it instead of being mad that the body isn't perfect at that moment. So really bringing your awareness to it, not punishing the body. It's kind of like, I'm sure we've all known somebody who gained 5 pounds over the holidays. Oh no, I gained 5 pounds. Well, is it the end of the world? No. Might your jeans be a little tighter? Probably. But are you going to die from it? Not likely. So helping the body, let it know it can lose 1 pound. The body goes, oh, I can do that. Well, it can lose 1 pound 5 times. But if you ask it to lose 20, then it's like 1 pound of validation, 19 of invalidation. So the body works better with you when it feels loved than when it feels judged. So take a deep breath and start to vibrate that love for your body. Send it any place that there's tension in the physical body. Find any judgments where it isn't okay to just be right where your body is at this moment. And just send it that validation. Just breathe. What a great body you picked. And you picked the model that was right for you this lifetime, for what energy you're going to handle. There is no right or wrong body. And just validate where you are. And start at the very top of your head and send a favorite color through that body. Just letting it know you love it, that you're there for it. It might be gold, it might be blue, any color that feels good to you. What's your color of self-love? And let it fill up the whole head and the neck. Let some run down the arms, into the fingers, into the torso, the chest, the back. Just sending love throughout that whole body. Your tenderness. Down the hips, to the legs and the feet. Out into the aura, all the way around you. And then go in and do the organs. Send your brain some love. Hey, it's thinking for you all the time. Just send both hemispheres of the brain, the left and the right. It's like, hey, I love thinking. Thank you, brain. The eyes. All the way down the throat, the digestive tract. The heart. Look at how many beats a minute it does. All these years, it's just going. The lungs, the spleen, the liver, pancreas, all those organs. I'll probably miss one or two. All the intestines. And just filling all the organs with self-love. All the blood and the muscles. That whole physical body. Just sending it your love and your validation. Thanking it for, hey, it's gotten you how many years so far? Kind of nice. Just sending it that vibration of love and acceptance. Just decide you love yourself. What the heck? Even if you'll never be perfect or you'll never be what you were at 20. Thank goodness. Let that body know you believe in it and that you're really grateful for as far as it's gotten you. And miles to go before we sleep. Then you can stretch